And now, a few minutes with Andy Rooney.
There are a lot of know-nothing boobs who don't appreciate the modern art being put up in public places in all our cities. I know this is true because I'm one of those know-nothing boobs. When did bright-colored plastic cows, pigs, and rabbits get to be art? I don't like most of the stuff passing for art, and it's everywhere. Seattle, Chicago, sure Chicago, hog butcher to the world, San Diego, Bloomington, Illinois, for goodness sakes, Cincinnati, the people looking were better looking than what they were looking at, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., makes as much sense as the politicians there, Plainview, Texas, another culture center, Providence, Rhode Island, Memphis, Tennessee. This was done to honor Martin Luther King. It's called I've Been to the Mountain. Well, I'm an admirer of everything Martin Luther King stood for, but I don't think he would have stood for this. In New York, Lincoln Center has the best opera, the best ballet, the best symphony orchestra. Is this Mickey Mouse sculpture out front really in an artistic league with what goes on inside? This is named Two Indeterminate Lines. Well, I may not understand art, but I do understand the English language, and that's pretentious nonsense. Does every open space have to be filled in? Is this really better looking than nothing would be? I don't think so. Sculptor Richard Serra's work called Tilted Arc was put up at a cost of $175,000. It's a leaning slab of rusting metal. There was a war in New York between people who hated it and people who accused them of being culturally deprived. Tilted Arc was eventually taken down, cut into 3 pieces, and stored. Take that, Artie Arc. A writer ought to be able to write simple sentences before he tries to be a poet. I want to see something traditional that a sculptor has done, something I can understand, before he gets a license to do this. This is Picasso. This is Picasso, too. Picasso earned the right to do anything he wants. This is art whether I think so or not. Whoever did this suffers either from a functional disorder of the mind or he's putting us on. And what beneficial effect does this have on our brains that makes it worth putting in a public place? I understand perfectly well that good art is always ahead of public taste. Most of this stuff is certainly ahead of my taste. I don't like it. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure you'll correct me.
The new record is called Us. Us as in two people, relationship, and us as in all of us, as in people in the earth.
Something in me, dark and sticky, all the time it's getting strong.
I was trying to get something sort of angry and murderous in a way.
With this feeling, can't go on, that is too long. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. I told you.
I was working on one project about death row and why we kill. And realized that perhaps by acknowledging and going through the dark side of yourself, that you can actually sort of come to terms with it and accept it and, in a sense, have it neutralized a little bit. Performance, but many years ago I realized the key factor in determining the success of a record is the haircut.
Give me steam, and how you feel can make it real. Feel as anything you with the dreamer's dream.
Last time I was touring America, the guitarist David Rhodes insisted that I went to see this chapel in Texas, which Rothko had done. And it was full of black paintings, and 14 black paintings there. And I went there, and it was one of the most spiritual places I've ever been. It's a very powerful experience, and the whole place, as I discovered.
The underground scenes, and wasps and flies, and maggots.
The species of snail that was used in the Digging in the Dirt video was one called WhnDdThsBcmArt.
The snail sequence is great because it actually developed a lot further than I'd originally intended it to. Mainly because Peter's such a great guy to work with, and he doesn't know when to say no.
They had a very complex jaw, which is a bit like sandpaper.
Initially, we were just going to have snails crawling over his ear.
Sandpaper moving in the way like a chainsaw moves.
He sort of didn't seem to mind that, so it started crawling over his eye.
And these little teeth will actually rip into flesh.
And then it was crawling over his mouth. So that sort of scene developed a lot more. But there are also other elements to those shots, and some of those are the most layered images of all, up to 9 layers of information, all shot at different times: grass growing, creepers growing, time-lapse skies, time-lapse backgrounds, a whole variety of into the project, because Peter had always been interested in his work, and again it was something that he felt expressed what he was trying to say. He felt that Zushi's images were very, very powerful as being sort of expressions of the psyche, slightly deranged, slightly wild, and he wanted some of that element within the film.
I was trying to get something sort of angry and murderous in a way.
This feeling can't go on, that is too long.
It was to take those characters and animate them, but because they had a very graphic style and clay animation is really three-dimensional, I had to